evidence, and experiences of the paranormal and beyond in search of answers, even if that leads to more questions. Are you with me?
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 3 of the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Peter Orbea. We're live on Let's Talk Radio, WLTKDB.com. And episode 3, we're getting more in the books. Yahoo! Um, and it's December 8th. Gosh, getting closer to the holidays. I can't even believe it. I know everyone says that, but time really does fly as you get old. So can't believe the holidays are right around the corner. But exciting show tonight for you guys. I'm super excited to have psychic medium Seth Michael from here in Washington, and he's a guy that's been a big part of my journey. At the start of it, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I'm really excited to have him on. He's got a lot of great thoughts on things, anything with spirits. He's a spiritual advisor, consultant, medium, and investigator, and with a lot of great experience. And so I'm really excited to have him on. We'll be bringing Seth on after our first break at 20 after the hour. And right now we're at the top of the hour, episode 3. Um, we're streaming on Facebook tonight, just kind of trying some different things. And plus, we want to show me and Seth smiling faces to everybody. So, um, but a couple things coming up. I'm hosting my first virtual gallery reading this Saturday, 7 p.m., and it's via Google Meet. So you can pull up a piece of your couch and get comfy, and you don't have to go anywhere. And if you want information on that event is at my Facebook page. So facebook.com/paranormal Pete show. And you can look up the events there. Tickets are $25. And everyone has the opportunity for a reading. It's going to go for about an hour and a half. It may go a little bit longer, but right about an hour and a half, depending on what's coming through. I've always enjoyed doing gallery readings and group readings just because you never quite know who's going to show up in a reading. And one of my favorite examples of that is in laws will show up. And the person that I was getting the information for will say, well, geez, I didn't think so and so liked me. Yeah, well, they liked you enough to come visit you. So you never quite know who's going to show up for you. So it's always a lot of fun. So that's this Saturday night, just in time for the holidays, and hopefully, I'm looking forward to hopefully bringing some good messages that people need and have some fun with it. So that's one of the things I like to do for my gallery and group readings is to have some fun while we're doing it. So it's not um, such a downer type of a feel. We want to remember the good things about people coming through and stuff. So we'll have some fun. But if you go to facebook.com, go to my Facebook page, Paranormal Pete Show, and check out the events there. And I think tickets will be on sale right up until the event starts. And again, that's $25 for that. If you guys like I'm doing some housekeeping here. If you guys like the theme music for my show, it's a song called Magic from the band I'm in called Steady Rock Cosmonaut. Shout out to the boys and the fellow cosmonauts. That's a song called Magic, and it's off our debut album called The Sleeper Awakens. So you can head over to steadyrockcosmonaut.com and check it out. We've got a music video from one of our songs, and you can check out the album, and you can get it pretty much anywhere you can buy music online. So, but I also want to give a special shout out to my bro and bandmate Corey J in Steady Rock Cosmonaut. He also has another group called Wawa Punks, and that's WAWAPUNX. And they just released their second album, and it's called Fantasia with a PH. And so go check that out. Hit YouTube, give it a spin, and then go get the album. So I just want to give a special shout out to Corey J. and congrats on releasing the second album for the Wah Wah Punks. Okay, so enough housekeeping and shameless self promotion here. um, so Seth, as I mentioned, who's going to be my guest tonight, was a big part of my psychic journey and in the, I guess, the starting of my psychic journey, and it was just quite an experience. And so I'm going to ask him about that. But if you didn't listen to my first show, you can at the station archive at wltkdb.com, and all the shows are archived that are on the station. So if you miss one, or you want to go back a couple of weeks and check an episode out, all the shows are on there. There's a lot of great shows on this station, so I encourage you to take advantage of the archive and go check some stuff out. If you need something to listen to, check it out. Um, but if you didn't catch my first show, I kind of introduced, who I am, my story, my weird story about what's brought me to right here, right now. And Seth was a big part of that. And he's the first person I ever got a psychic reading from. And, I've had a couple of other friends, do kind of a reading, but it wasn't like an official one where I was sitting down and paying for it. So Seth was the first person I ever got a reading from, and he essentially had me do my own reading. And through that whole experience, I talk about just my stomach flip flopping, just all kinds of feelings, and just, oh my gosh, uh, you know, a million butterflies in your stomach all of a sudden. And it kind of got me thinking the other night about, I think most people can get those feelings, or it's definitely more recognizable, and that is kind of through the empath that everybody has. So when you're, if you're an empath, you're very sensitive to other emotions, other people's feelings and emotions. And so throughout that whole kind of awakening experience for me, and discovering my gift, was these feelings, and it just kind of, they were really overbearing at first and really strong, and it still kind of comes in waves, depending on where I'm at. But so I think a lot of people, um, they're, you may be on your way to an awakening experience, but I think the most common thing people can experience psychically is the feelings and the emotions, the empath. And a lot of people just don't realize that, I think. And a lot of the um, readings I've done for clients over the years, and investigations, and a lot of people talk about feeling stuff. And so, you know empath is a pretty big thing, and it shouldn't be overlooked by people. And I think, kind of what a lot of people think of psychic work, maybe more historically as of more than recent, is that it's just a weird thing. So, or if I'm going to be psychic, I'm going to be seeing stuff. I'm going to be, visually seeing all this stuff. Well, a lot of it starts out with feelings, and getting those feelings. And I'm, again, I'm not just talking about sympathy, feeling bad for somebody else, but actually feeling other people's emotions and energy, in a sense there. Um, and so, how do you tell? What are some things that might let you know that you're an empath? And by the way, if you want to comment or ask any questions, head over to the station chat at wltkdb.com. Join the station chat. And then if you want to make a comment or ask a question, that's the place to do it. I'm not seeing Facebook Live, so I'm not really able to kind of keep up with those comments. But if you want to comment on there, I can go back later and try and answer your questions as well. But how do you tell? How do you tell if you're an empath? Well, it's the feelings, right? One of the best examples that I use in talking with people is the Walmart effect, or the Fred Meyer effect, or crowded stadium effect. And I think some people are starting to realize where I'm going with this. How long can you stay in a place like Walmart or Fred Meyer's, or some big shopping outlet where there's a lot of people? How long can you hang out in there before you start to get aggravated, or feel like a bull that's about to see red? um, hey, if that doesn't happen to you, that's awesome. More power to you. I have about a 40-minute limit, and then I got to get out. I got to get in, get my shopping done, and get out. Of course, nowadays I'm utilizing the pickup function, which is really nice for empaths. But when you think about it, when you're in a place like, Walmart, whatever it is, a big shopping outlet, everyone else, look at what everyone else is doing there. They're shopping after work, or they're on their break, or it's at the end of the day and they're exhausted, stressed out, already thinking about tomorrow. And you're walking right into this minefield of emotions and energy. And so these stores can actually kind of be a good test for you. um, when everybody's hurrying through there, they're stressed out, they're thinking about tomorrow. And maybe you as well, maybe you're kind of doing the same thing. But if you kind of stop and look at yourself, or really look at what's around you, are those feelings yours? That, when you kind of get you kind of get your teeth are gritting, and you feel like I got to get out of here, or my lid's gonna blow here. um, that's a look around you. Is there a lot of people around you? You might be feeling other people's emotions and their stress and all this stuff. Well, if you don't recognize that, then it's going to build up on you, and it's going to keep building up on you, and it's going to keep building up on you till eventually it's like you have this big black cloud of everyone else's, you know, bad energy, stress, the stuff that they're exuding as they're storming through a store, throwing stuff in their shopping cart. So, anybody listening out there, and hopefully you're probably not shopping at this time of night on the East Coast. But think about it when you go into these big places, or maybe you just can't stand crowds. You can't be in a crowded place because it feels too much for you. You could be an empath, but those big stores is a great test. And so next time, if you're not sure, next time you go to one of those stores, start paying attention. Is there kind of a time limit where, only after so long, X amount of minutes, you're kind of ready to see red, and just get out of there. So that's a good way to kind of gauge your empath. And I think everybody in some way or another has that ability. Um, it's just whether or not we recognize it, and that goes a lot with a lot of psychic work and clairvoyance and all that. I mean, we just may think it's our imagination, but it could be something else. So, are you an empath? There's a lot of struggles that come with that. It can be cool, it can be a good thing, but there's a lot of struggles with that. And one of the things that I try and talk to people about, clients and stuff, is just being able to turn that down. Yeah, and turn those feelings down. And really, there's a lot of different ways you can turn that anxiety, that's everyone else's emotions that's just kind of built up on you. There's probably a bazillion kind of ways to do it. Everyone's a little differently, but if you can visualize something, of a turning down something. Maybe if you're a chef or you love to cook, that's like your place is the kitchen. Maybe if you're just feeling overwhelmed and you realize, it's not just your emotions, you're feeling everybody else's. Well, maybe you visualize you've got um, a stovetop dial, on yourself somewhere, and you turn that down, you turn that flame down on the burner. So that might work for, if food is your thing. um, I'm a musician, and so for me, I naturally visualize, a bass amp or a guitar amp knob, And if I'm feeling just overwhelmed, and I keep talking about feelings and stuff, I should say it mostly feel like it's in your abdomen, kind of in your core, right? Your solar plexus, your heart chakra, your upper abdomen. That's where you're going to feel a lot of this stuff if you're empath. And so I kind of visualize a guitar amp knob, to be specific, a Fender Twin Deluxe amp, one of the old fashioned knobs, and I just kind of turn it down to 0 or 2 or 3, depending on how I'm feeling. And so there's, like I said, a million different ways that you can do that, but it kind of starts with, a little bit of just visualization with yourself. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that up because with the holidays coming up, the stresses and with everything going on in our crazy world these days, stress is probably through the roof. I feel it everywhere. I'm sure other um, mediums and psychics and sensitives, they're feeling it too. It's going to get worse leading up to the holidays, and so I just want to put that out there that you can turn it down. You just got to visualize what works for you. For me, like I said, it's a guitar amp knob. Maybe it's something really weird that you that your brain keeps going to visualize. It may be something that totally doesn't make sense, but let your go with it. If you're visualizing something, your brain just keeps going to it, and you're like, this does not make sense for turning something down, like a knob or a lever or anything like that. It's just strange. Well, just go with it. Trust me, just go with it, and see what happens, and visualize whatever this is that's going to turn these feelings down for you. I think it'll at least make you help stay a little more sane during this holiday season, especially since this one's going to be, I think, a lot different for everybody this year. And so, watch how you're feeling. Try and recognize if you don't really have a reason to be so stressed out, but you were just in a location where everyone is speeding around you, and they're, shop in, like I said, in a shopping store, everyone's speeding around you. They're stressed out. You're going to start to feel that. So I just want to mention that to hopefully help you out going into kind of the crunch time for the holiday season. So just be aware of it. Energies everywhere. Humans, we pick up on each other so much. I mean, look at the yawn effect. When you see, and I don't know all the science behind it, I'll disclaim that, but it just kind of makes me think, well, yeah, if it's possible that I see somebody yawn, well, that makes me want to yawn, that makes the next person want to yawn. Well, their energies, it can do the same thing. So if someone's just carrying a lot of bad stuff with them, empaths, you're out there, what it feels like. It can feel like a punch to the gut, but you can definitely feel it. So let's all try and stay sane this holiday season, and just remember that when you're out and about, and hopefully being safe, but when you're out and about, just be cognitive that you're probably picking up other people's stuff too. So let's do it. Let's figure out what visually works for you, what visualization you want to go that works for you and your subconscious and your brain and how you feel, and go with that. Try it out. See if you feel better. See if you can turn that volume down on all the BS that everyone else is putting out around you. So, well, we're going to pay some station bills here. We're going to take you to our first break. It's about almost 20 after. On the other side of this break, we're going to be bringing in Mr. Seth Michael. I'm so excited. Stay with us on the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Peter Abea. We'll see you on the flip side.
We are controlling transmission. WLTK DB. Let's talk. Patreon is a place for creators. We're one of them. Visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/WLTKDB. Check out all the unique support tiers we offer. You can get early release episodes, station mugs and t-shirts, free station service work, and much more. Help the station reach its $1,000 per month goal to make our station totally ad-free. Patreon.com/WLTKDB. We appreciate your support. Ever wanted to host your own radio show? If your answer is yes, then the time to act is now. WLTK DB Let's Talk is now accepting new programming more affordable than ever. You create the show idea and we'll take care of the rest. Not only do we create your program intro and provide broadcast training, but also syndicate you to popular outlets like Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. You get all of this starting at $100 per month. 3 packages to choose from and built to make your wallet happy. Contact us at WLTKDB.com with your show idea and let's bring your dream to life. All topics accepted and you have full rights to your program. Contact us today and reserve your spot on WLTKDB Let's Talk. What are you waiting for? Let's do this.
Maggie Reiki is a full-service Reiki therapy center offering both in-person and distance Reiki sessions. Reiki is a gentle healing energy that can assist in clearing, repairing, and maintaining energy that is vital for optimal health. Reiki can also assist with anxiety, depression, and even addiction. You can schedule a Reiki session by visiting our website, www.mackeyreiki.com. That's www.mackeyreiki.com.
Well, they sing that you're a fool. You believe in magic. Some hocus
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Paranormal Pete Show. It's episode 3, December 8th. I'm your host, Pete Orbea, and can't believe I've got 3 episodes so far. Woohoo! And we've got a special guest tonight, and really they're all special to me. But this guy, I would say he's going to always have a spot in my heart. And he's muted right now. But I've always loved talking with Seth, and he's made a big impact on my life. Last time we were talking, he was saying it's amazing just the ripple effect of helping one person and then them helping other people and all this kind of stuff. And it really is true. And so, Seth was a big part of my journey and still is. And so my pleasure to bring you guys psychic medium Seth Michael. How you doing, Seth?
Hey, great. Thank you very much for asking me to be on your show.
Of
I'm
course,
really
man.
excited.
Yeah, well, this won't be the only time, so you're roped in now. Well, I want to thank you for taking time to come on, and I've got a lot of stuff I think we can talk about. And
You had a great topic going on there too, the empath topic.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you want to add to that?
Sure. Some things that help me along with visualization are salt. Sometimes there's float tanks you can go in that have a ton of salt in there, and it seems to do something with our force fields. It seems to clear us off. Well, you can simply just take a bath with Epsom salts even, or you can use unprocessed salt. I use a shower and I just rub it on my body, and then I used to do that after a huge gallery reading, so like 60 people or whatever, and I would feel my mind is mush, and I felt really wide open, as you know, and so I would do that, and then I would feel more grounded instantly. Also, going outside and with your shoes off, getting into the dirt, planting your feet in the ground can give you a sudden grounding, just a grounding feeling. Even touching a rock. I paint rocks nowadays, and one reason I do that I keep doing it is because of the energy. It's so like a centered kind of feeling.
Organic, right? It's that organic, yeah.
So anything that helps you to feel like centered back into yourself, back into your body kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those are some suggestions. And also just being mindful and aware, because a lot of times we don't realize we'll just be in a tizzy and just like, I don't know why I feel like this, I just feel crazy. But you don't realize that you were just at, like you said, the store, and maybe you didn't put two and two together that you're
Right.
feeling really flighty or not yourself, or could have picked up something. Like empaths are natural, I think our natural we're velcro. We
Yes.
just things stick to us.
Yes.
Whereas some people have, I found working with people, the people that are utilizing the top of their head more, which is the claircognizance it's called, so it's
Hmm.
like the crown chakra,
Right.
they don't have it's not going through the solar plexus, how they're processing the world,
Right.
or the unseen, so they're not having to filter all those emotions through where we are feeling everything at once
Right.
and going through that way. And we may be utilizing the intuition or claircognizance too, where we get the pure information, but then it can get clouded with the emotions. So it's good to practice how to sort that.
Yeah, and there's just a bunch of different ways you can do it, and it's just, you got to find what works for you, and
Exactly.
what in your life as always speaks to you, and kind of go with that. I like the salt idea too. I mean, that's something that anybody could do and not have to really take the time of trying to develop themselves as an empath. They can just do something that's more of a physical thing. So that's really cool. And
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Or saging,
yeah,
smudging with sage. People you do that a lot, and that seems to help too. You can, some people do it from the top of their head all the way down, get under your arms,
right.
bottom of your feet, or you could do it from the bottom up, however you're most comfortable.
Yeah,
When I do it, I usually feel like I had a full body massage.
nice.
So
Well, that sounds
yeah.
good. That sounds. Everyone needs that every once in a while. That
Yeah,
sounds nice.
exactly. It helps.
Yeah, yeah. And there's just so much, stress out there right now, especially with the holidays coming up. And I think the year we've all had that, this kind of stuff is important to do to take care of yourself. Especially if you're empath, and maybe you just don't know you're empath, but maybe hopefully after hearing this, you might, stop and kind of take stock. And, that's why I wanted to bring it up for maybe those who, have kind of questioned maybe a little bit, am I an empath? I just don't really know. And, that's why I was thinking, the grocery store is a great test for that.
Yes, yes, it sure is. It sure
Yeah.
is. That it can also be for people, well, people that are. We can go into this a little bit more tonight if you want, but people that are open to spirits feeling their emotions as well. That could be
Exactly.
part of that too. I know there's
Yep.
a store that I go to sometimes, like in this one area, I can feel it really full. So if of spirits, even if
Right.
there's no client, no customers back there, it's just me. I still feel like there's a lot of stress and a lot going on.
Yeah.
So, and then I've asked the employees, and they felt the same thing in that
Uh,
area.
well, there you go.
So, yeah.
And
so,
that,
so they didn't even realize that they were picking up on it.
yeah. So, and that's a great point of not just the living people that someone might be feeling, that it's those who are on the other side too that we're feeling and picking up as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a class. Maybe Kristen's listening. Maybe she can find out or let us know when Sonia Jorgensen's class
Yes.
is.
Yeah. It's
It's coming
empath.
up.
Yep. Empath. And it's this Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Oh,
So
perfect. You already
yeah.
know. Okay.
Yeah. 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 If you go to look up Resonance Healing on Facebook, you'll find her page and that event there. And
Excellent.
it's $20 for 2 hours, and that would be a great resource for anybody out there who's kind of struggling right now. So yeah,
Yes.
great point. Gee, Seth, you read my mind.
It's funny. I also do one-on-one classes with people too if they want the customized suggestions, and I try to
Hmm.
connect with the person and give them tips and pointers on what to do that would hopefully be right for them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and that kind of is part of your role as a spiritual advisor,
Right,
right?
exactly.
And
Yep.
mentoring and stuff like that. Well, I wanted to ask you, everybody who's, been psychic, maybe they've known it for years, or just kind of awakening and they're kind of getting into it. I think it's super important to have someone that's like a mentor that can help you, kind of decipher what you're feeling or how you're feeling and stuff like that. So, I want who was your mentor?
Yeah, I had one. Her name was Maria, and she was a friend. And she said, "You know, you're a natural medium, right?" And I was in my 20s, early 20s, and I didn't know what that was. I'm like, okay, explain that, please. And then she said, "Remember those imaginary friends you had?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She doesn't know me from Adam. How did she know that? It was kind of
Yeah,
interesting. And she said they were not imaginary. I'm like, whoa, that all made sense. It really did, because they changed. Like, if we went to different houses, it wouldn't be the same people, or imaginary friends would be different.
right, right.
It would they usually, kids that have imaginary friends, their age or an animal or something fun. They're not usually an old guy
Yeah.
spirit, and
Hopefully not. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, unless it's I think, unless it's a spirit, a grandfather, or just somebody kind of wandering through that
Right.
feels a track, not feels like protective over kids.
Yeah, and
So you
yeah,
can think of that.
I've in a lot of the clients I've done readings for with stuff going on in their house, oftentimes it's like a grandfather or an uncle who's like watchdog over the kids.
Yeah, definitely.
They're there to protect them, and because we may, um, they just may not be cognizant of that. That's a possibility. People will get freaked out and panic and not know what to do and think there's something after their kid. But yeah, a lot of times I think it's like a grandpa or something that's
Yeah,
hanging out. So when you
they
were
don't
growing,
always realize they're scaring kids. They don't
yeah,
always realize.
yeah, I would agree with that too. So you said you had imaginary friends and
Yeah,
um,
invisible. I think they were
invisible.
invisible. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you? I mean, even as a kid, I mean, it sounds like maybe you didn't really. It wasn't like on your radar at all that it was like that it was a spirit. It was just like
No.
you felt like it was your imagination
Yeah,
and
so mom told me. She said I had a great imagination. I would come up with these things. I had a really deep insight too for being a kid. It was one of those kids where I said stuff and they would go, "Whoa, how do you know that?" Or I can't remember examples, but it would be like, "How can you be 3 and saying these big concepts?" And it all made sense too, that I was probably accessing, information that way.
yeah.
Or
Wow.
maybe I lived before and took information with me to this
And
life.
you
Who
were
knows?
just yeah, and you were just repeating it, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's fun to see. One of mine has said some profound things as well before, and we're like, what? How
Yeah.
did you? How do you even know about that?
Yeah.
Always kids are always surprising. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
It is. It
so
makes you wonder,
yeah,
like, where
I
they're
don't
getting it
know.
from. But this mentor Maria, she we were friends for a while, and she really helped me. We ended up being roommates, and in her room there was a portal, and it was shooting out spirits. And we would help. She would actually talk to them, and I would let her know what they were saying, because I could hear, we both could feel, and she could see.
Okay.
So I would just verbatim say, "This is what he's saying," and then she would talk to him about letting go of whatever was going on. Like, if they were having a difficult time, they couldn't find their wife, for example, and they were frantic. She would
Okay.
let them know how to find their wife, and then they would, move on, most likely. Some chose not to go to the next level. or wherever that is,
Right.
and some take a while, but it was putting a bug in their ear, and that really, that I took that with me for, because I would do that. They could call it like when spirits cross over,
Right.
and the spiritualists call it spirit rescue, and there's other psychopomp is another way. It's kind of like gate in the middle of the gate, like kind of letting them know here's another place you can go if you're ready, kind of thing. How I do it is I just go by my emotions, and a lot of times we'll have an angry spirit at a case, and for sure there'd be usually a woman there, like you said, this would be like an aunt or a grandma looking after the kids, and they would stay on a, where what I would call is an earthbound state, where they have energy still the from being human, so still have human emotions, still processing at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to understand it as a it's a heavier level. It's
Yes.
it's it's got thicker feeling. It's more dense, and that's what
Yes.
we live on. And so some spirits can choose to stay on that, and not necessarily are they having a hard time, but they might have a mission. They're like, I'm not going on that level, because on a different level, because I need to stay where I am to protect my, so and so, because that other spirit maybe that's in the house that's being a jerk is on that same level, so
Sure.
they can do more, it seems. That's my understanding of it from experience. uh,
Sure. Yeah.
then oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, do you, in some of these experiences you've had, do you? I mean, do they just straight up tell you that they're lost, or
No,
is there? I mean, you're like,
no, they don't
are you
know.
just, or they know they're staying put, and they want on this, on that level that they're on, and they don't want to go. Like, do they tell you how do you process that?
That's where I use the empath ability, because I'll
Okay.
connect with the spirit and I'll feel most likely what they're feeling. And
Okay.
in my belief that if they're so a lot of times we'll get an angry male, and he's just pissed off about something that happened to him, that somebody did to him.
Sure.
This one guy got fired, and he was really upset. Wife maybe left another guy, whatever happened, they seem to hang on to that, so they don't really know that they're in that state. They just know that they're they're
Oh,
feeling what they're feeling. Yeah,
yeah.
they're not really processing through it, and that's the thing. That's where we call it paranormal counseling, spirit counseling, where we connect with them and say, just so you know, you don't have to hang on to this anymore. This is all done now. You have completed your journey. Um, you know, you got to forgive yourself. That's
Yeah.
most of the time, and sometimes they don't realize they passed on. So the first question I usually ask is, "Do you know you passed on?" And a lot, sometimes I hear no shit. So so they know. So then we go to the next. So then I'll just feel, okay, I'm feeling sadness. I'm feeling this great sadness. And then there's different levels of empath, and some people have the level where they can connect with the person and know what's going on, so they'll feel the feeling, but they'll know why it's there. They'll
Sure.
have that, and that could be a combining of the abilities with the intuition, like, I'm feeling this and
Hmm.
this is why, and then it just kind of meets. And that's good to have too, because say you're hearing a spirit say, oh, I'm a little kid, but you're feeling like, oh no, this is not a little kid spirit. There's something going on here, something not
Sure.
right. So you can tell when they're lying. So I think combining the abilities can give you a really big picture, and
Hmm.
then that's what we do when we're doing this with this counseling too, connecting with them and using all of our abilities. We kind of see what we're seeing, and see how they're holding themselves. They could be um, um, imaging at a death state where they have like a head injury still,
Yes.
or like how it just happened,
Yes.
and or they could be, progressed. They could be 90, die, passed away at 90, but coming through as 30, and that's
Right.
usually, usually when they have a message trying to give somebody, like my grandson will know me this way, or from a
Right.
picture,
Right.
or something like that. And that's usually the spirits that crossed over already, that are at a different vibratory level is what we
Sure.
call it, or frequency. And that's more of love. That's where the earthbound spirits more about self-centered. They're just more concerned about what's going on with them. And the other ones have more other centered. They're
Yeah.
more self or other, serving others. That's what they're more concerned about.
Right. Yeah. And I like to use, I've heard you speak on, your understanding of earthbounds and stuff, and it's kind of resonated with me over the years. And in my experience, they do feel different. And I kind of started to almost kind of see when somebody crosses over, it's like the soul's car wash. And
Yeah.
you go through it, and you get rid of all the things that were mucking you down in life. And then once you go through that, you can come back, and you're a part of that light, you're a part of that energy, so you feel different, you feel bouncy, more of
Later.
a positive sort of feeling. But someone who
Yeah.
hasn't gone through the car wash, as I call it,
Yeah, I call it a
you know
spiritual shower. Yeah, same
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So they do feel different. We got a
Yeah,
couple
and
of
if you're connected, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, we got a
Well,
couple questions from chat. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say real quick, finish up that thought, is that the now I lost it. I'll get it back.
two
That
in the
happens to
morning
me.
2 in the morning, you'll get
Yeah,
it back tonight.
yeah.
um So we have a couple of questions, and one of them is, so what percentage of children who have quote unquote imaginary friends are actually seeing spirits? What do you think that is? Do you think a lot of them are, like a large percent of the majority with imaginary friends, they're seeing them? Or, kind of, what do you think?
I'm not exactly sure, because the ones that I've connected with, I'll see what they're seeing, but sometimes I'll be seeing what they're seeing in their imagination. So I would say it's half and half, I guess. Where
Sure.
it's hard to really say for sure, but I can say, like, yes, I'm seeing the spirit. I believe I'm seeing the spirit too. So that's as far as I can go with it with them.
Yeah. And everybody's different. So,
Yeah.
a young one who's, quote unquote, seeing these people, it might just be more of a feeling thing along with their imagination, but there's something there. So yeah, I guess it would.
Right.
That's a tough question. That would
It's
be
hard to work with kids. I've tried to work with kids, and they just, over here, over there, they're Jack Russells, which is cool. I can keep up with them, but they don't really want to talk about spirits most of the time.
right.
They're not real comfortable with it. So it's best I find, to work with the parents, and then just give them some tips and tricks, and then they work with their kids.
Right, because they'll know how to reach their kids.
Yeah, otherwise,
And
they see this strange guy talking about ghosts. They're like, I don't know you.
I want to go
They're just,
play. I want to
they're
go play over here.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
they want to distract.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's another question from the chat. Thanks everybody for joining in on the chat. It's great when you guys participate and ask questions, so I appreciate that. You can go to the station chat at wltkdb.com. So this one is from a Melissa, and the question is: have either of you had anyone come through that needs closure, like someone who doesn't know why or how they died? And I'll let you take that one, Seth.
Oh yes, several, several, or doesn't know. Okay, doesn't know how or why. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Let's see. I just got all these images going through my mind. Um, through the years, I'm just trying to pinpoint one.
Mm-hmm.
My
Well,
mind's a blank right now.
well, that means you have a lot. That means you have a lot to choose from. Well, I would say, I think I have, most of the time it's you mentioned, seeing somebody maybe that they're in their death state, whatever injury that they suffered, and and I've haven't seen those that often. But to me, that's someone who, might not know. And it's usually I've seen them like on the side of a road. Like maybe there was a car wreck or something, and they don't look right. And, I would say to answer the question, I haven't really had a lot come to me and like give that feeling or say with a flashing sign, I need closure. But I think it's more of, um, it's closure for the person you're giving the message to, which gives them closure as well. Gives the spirit closure as well. But yeah, to answer the question, yes. I mean, I think I've come across that, but nothing that was like direct. It was more indirect. Does that make sense? It was more of an indirect experience.
Makes sense. I am remembering some. Actually, you would think that if there were suicides, they would know they passed on, but there are some cases that they don't realize that they did it. They
Right.
remember doing it, but they don't. It's a dream state when I connect with them, and there's clips of time, and you don't really know where you are, and it's kind of an odd feeling. So yeah, I've had experiences like that
Hmm.
connecting with them, like, oh, okay, they don't know what's going on. I'd have to tell them. So then I would
Yeah.
gently let them know, well, since you're talking to me, you probably passed on. And
Right.
however, there are times that there's comas. And there was a friend of mine that she had a really hard time, and she had a history of attempting suicides. And one day her spirit showed up in our house, and I started crying. I'm like, no, no, tell me this isn't happening. She said, call my phone. I'm like, what? Call my phone right now. So I called her phone, and a cop answered. Thought I was her dad, and said she was passed out on the bathroom floor.
Oh
And
man.
but she was still alive. I'm
Wow.
like, oh my gosh, okay. So I'm not her dad, but I'm a good friend. So I'm glad I found this out. And then they put her in a coma for a while after that. She was in her own coma, but then they had to put her under again to help
Hmm.
heal her. And she would keep coming back to me. We'd have discussions, and she'd be really there. I was seeing these angels around her. I think they were angels. There was some sort of beings helping heal her, and she was pissed. She's like, I don't want to go back there. Are you kidding me? I said, well, as far as I know, they're going to heal you for if you do want to go back there, then you're good.
Hmm.
So she did come back, and she woke up, and then she said that she in her experience she saw God, and God said, take a number and get on the back of the line. And then she came back.
That's awesome.
So
So
there are cases of that
did
of
she
comas.
did she describe, after coming out of the coma and everything, did she describe kind of like, did she remember talking to you? And
No, I
really?
wondered that
Okay.
too. Yeah, she doesn't
Interesting.
remember anything,
Okay. Did
but
it
it
seem
could.
like did it seem like she was in a dreamlike state like you were kind of describing?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, definitely. It was
Wow.
very similar to a spirit though, so that's why I thought she was a spirit at first.
Right. Yeah, because you're like, well, if they're here showing themselves to me, then they're on the other
Yeah.
side. Wow, wow.
So I'm a big believer. If you have a loved one in a coma, like my mom was in a coma, I know she heard us. So we would just talk to her like she was awake.
Yeah,
Just tell her about her day or
for sure.
uh, whatever. So I do think they're listening.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's interesting the kind of if it was a suicide or maybe like a sudden car accident and they, someone died instantly, that they're
Yeah.
it feels kind of like a dreamlike state. And I'm going to try and see if I can recognize that, in spirits that come through. So that would be interesting to check out. Well, I have like a million questions.
Okay.
But so that's great that I'm glad we touched on your mentor. And I think that's just super important for anybody out there who's kind of starting out, or just kind of scratching the surface. And
And this was like
um
30 years ago, and I still remember things she said, like if you get a big ego, you're
wow.
gonna lose it. Things like that. Just it's
Yeah.
important to protect yourself. This just different things come up into my mind that I still remember today.
And we all need that. And yeah, that's so awesome. So what what's been your most well, how long have you been doing readings? I should ask, for people other than friends. Like how long have you been professionally doing readings?
Professionally, I just kind of lumped it in starting, so it
Sure.
was 30 years for actual readings. But I didn't do it for paid until like uh 10 years into it, I think. I
Okay.
started doing that. I started on the psychic hotlines first. You
Okay.
don't if you want to go on there, it's not to make money because they make $2.99 a minute. We get 10 cents, or what was it, 20 cents a minute. So it's you got to be on a lot to
Yeah.
earn
eh,
money.
to make it
Earn,
worthwhile, sure.
yeah, but it's great practice. I was so glad that I did that. I got so much experience in readings
Interesting.
in the psychic, and a lot of them wanted to know psychic stuff, but every once in a while there would be a mediumship reading, and there was one that there was the ultimate call, and then I was done. It was amazing for that particular line. I was done for a while because it was a spirit that had committed suicide and came
Okay.
over, and we talk about that in the movie too, and all around us that we have. But basically this woman said, I need to know you're real, I need to test you. And I felt like, oh no, I hate tests because I get so nervous. But she asked me how many kids she had. She asked me all those questions, and apparently I got everything right on. And I said, wait a minute, is this about a man? I described him wearing a flannel shirt, hands in his pockets, head down. He always used to stand like that. Yes, it's my husband. And I said, well, there's some sorrow. And she said he committed suicide. And so he wanted to not he wanted to make sure she stopped blaming herself. That was the
Hmm.
whole thing. So it was a very important reading. And it was going on an hour. I'm like, look, are you cool with this? Because, we're going out. She goes, no, this is a very important call. So, okay. I'm probably only the only one person, psychic person on the thing being concerned about their money.
Yeah.
But, but
So what about that call? I mean, made you kind of walk away from that stuff?
I just felt finished. Like that was why I did it. To get
Yeah.
that one call.
Yeah, and
Well,
you're
I
like,
know there were other calls that were very important, but just that for some reason, that one really felt like something could have really shifted in her to help her.
yeah.
That it felt like a shift.
And did that kind of, I mean, was that rewarding for you in a sense that,
Yeah.
and do you think, um, was that kind of like a point in your journey where you're like, okay, this is something I've got to do and maybe approach a little differently to really get information to people that need it? Is that kind of what your thinking was, or?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I just remember, and I still did readings, but I just didn't do it on the psychic lines.
Right.
So I just did it in person most of the time, mostly.
Yeah. And so where do you normally work out of now?
Out of the Wild Hair Salon, and out it's in Camas, Washington, by the way.
Hmm.
and also from Zoom or the
Yeah.
phone.
Well, nowadays, right? We're all doing it
Yeah,
remotely, and
I've taken a break from readings per se, but I'm doing empath readings where I'm connecting with people if they want help with emotions or
yeah,
mentorship right now. But I hope to go back to the other readings. Just sometimes we need a break.
yeah. Well, maybe there's a lot of people that need a mentor like you, and that's the direction you're going. Well, how do people get a hold of you?
I have a website. It's Seth Michael Advisor, or on Facebook, Seth Michael Psychic Medium Spiritual Advisor.
Awesome. Yeah, if anybody's out there looking for somebody to mentor them, and talk about empath stuff and counseling there, Seth's a great one to go to. We're going to be going to a break here soon. Um, and what was that? Sounds like a pretty rewarding experience, the when you were on the hotline. In that, what was, we got a few minutes and then we're going to take a break. What's been kind of your scariest moment, I guess? What was kind of whether it's an investigation or reading or whatever, what's kind of been one of your moments where you were like, on the edge?
The Prune Hill house. The Prune Hill house was Jill's house, my girlfriend's house. I lived 2,000 miles away when I met her. We met online, and she said, "There's something going on at my house." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, there's something in this room." It's a bedroom upstairs, and some kids did a Ouija board in there, is what I felt. And something had opened up. And she said, "Not that I know of." And then she asked her daughters, and her daughter said, yes, their boyfriends had done that. They were drinking and found Jill's old Ouija board,
Oh no.
broke it open, and did it in the closet
Oh no.
of this room. So there was a lot of experiences going on. I don't know if we have time now, if you want to talk more about it after the break.
Yeah, well, we can hit it after break. We got a couple more minutes, so yeah,
Oh, okay.
continue on. Yeah.
All right. Anybody that stayed in that room felt suicidal
Really?
and destructive. There were holes in the wall. There was a lot of anger that happened in that room. The one guy, when I was in the 2,000 miles away, I did what I could to protect whoever stayed in the room. So I would
Okay.
try to put Teflon from long distance, a Teflon cover over the closet so that they couldn't get out. Well, the kid didn't know that. The teenager that was staying there told Jill that that night that he saw things, but it was like through a window and they weren't coming in the room. So that
Oh
was pretty
wow.
interesting. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. It's like, wow, well, that was good. It worked. And there was at one point where she said there's scratching going on, there's all this happening, and she was alone at the house. So I remoted over. I sort of astraled over, but I still was in my body, but yet my spirit was over in the room, and I was trying to stop whatever was going on. And then when I came back to my body, I kind of got sidetracked, and it was almost like this siren for the ships when they're like, come here, and this beautiful spirit. And well, she wasn't even really beautiful, but I'm like, whoa. I'm like going over to her, and I'm hearing Jill in the background call my name. And then I'm like, I snap back. I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck's going on here? I was just like zoning out, following the spirit. And my guide said that was the tunnel of death. That's how people could get possessed. I'm like, really? Well,
Oh
I don't
wow.
know. So I don't know if that was my imagination or if that, but that was pretty crazy.
That is a crazy experience. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, we're gonna take a top of the hour break here on the Paranormal Pete Show with Seth Michael, and on the other side, maybe we can talk a little bit more about that or remote viewing, and then I've got a bunch of other stuff. We're going to talk about the All Around Us documentary film, and so we'll get into all that after the station break here at the top of the hour on WLTKDB.com. See you on the other side.
Witches cast their spell, and I know
all the radio stations in the world. We're one of them. We are controlling transmission. WLTK DB. Let's talk. Alternative Talk Radio. WLTKDB.com.
Stamps.com brings the post office and UPS shipping right to your computer. Go to Stamps.com to start a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with promo code FOX. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the page and type in FOX.
For delivery. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The leaders of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, the CEOs of Walgreens, CVS, and others on hand for an hours-long outline of how a coronavirus vaccine will be distributed once it's approved.
President Trump speaking to leading vaccine manufacturers and drug distributors at a COVID-19 vaccine summit, just 2 days before a Food and Drug Administration Advisory Committee meets to consider the first U.S. application for a COVID-19 vaccine.
This will quickly and dramatically reduce deaths and hospitalizations, and within a short period of time, I think we want to get back to normal. It's a very standard phrase. We want to just get back to normal, get back to where we were.
The president also signing an executive order that would prioritize access for COVID-19 vaccine doses for Americans.
Fox's John Decker in Washington, but it's not clear how the order will keep the drug companies from fulfilling their orders with other countries. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer say a $916 billion coronavirus relief package unveiled this evening by Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is progress, but the two in a joint statement said bipartisan negotiations are the best hope for a solution. Earlier, Schumer spoke about it on the Senate floor.
We need both parties to sit down and compromise on legislation to help the American people. That's the only way to get legislation passed.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has been pushing a smaller measure, though he wants it to include liability protections for businesses from COVID-19 lawsuits.
We can't get the economy back to normal if we have an epidemic of lawsuits on the heels of the pandemic. It simply won't make it possible for us to get back to normal.
The clock is ticking for Congress to reach a deal before they break for the holidays. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 has already reshaped how we work, and it's almost over. Businesses across the globe are challenged to be their most efficient, which means every hire is critical. Indeed is here to help. Indeed helps you find quality candidates quickly, so you can focus on hiring the person you need to keep your business going. Unlike other sites, Indeed gives you full control and payment flexibility over your hiring. You only pay for what you need, can pause your account at any time, and there are no long-term contracts. And now, Indeed's new way of matching you with candidates instantly delivers a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria that you can contact the moment you sponsor a job, making Indeed the only job site that can move as fast as you do. Right now, Indeed is offering a free $75 credit to boost your job post, which means more quality candidates will see it fast. Get started on Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell urging the Senate to vote against a proposal from several Democrats that would block the sale of $23 billion in arms to the UAE.
Senators considering this sale need to consider a reality we cannot escape. A significant competition for influence in the Middle East is underway, and China and Russia will be more than happy to meet the demand for advanced capabilities if the U.S. simply takes our ball and goes home.
Connecticut Democrat Chris Murphy defended the resolution, saying the UAE has violated past arms sales agreements, resulting in U.S. arms ending up in the hands of dangerous militia groups. A major airline is taking another step to make flights safer.
American Airlines will offer pre-flight at-home testing to all U.S. locations that have COVID-19 restrictions, including Puerto Rico. The test will be available for purchase for travel starting December 12th through American's at-home testing partner, Let's Get Checked. It's a nasal swab test. The price starts at $129, and results are typically delivered within 48 hours. You need to order the testing kits online 5 days before your departure. Chinico Sola, Fox News.
40 years ago today, the world lost a music legend.
John Lennon, outside of his apartment building on the west side of New York City. The most famous, perhaps, of all of the Beatles. Shot twice in the back. Rushed to Roosevelt Hospital, dead on arrival.
Howard Cosell broke the news on Monday Night Football on ABC. Lennon was returning home from the recording studio with wife Yoko Ono when he was shot. Today, Paul McCartney remembered Lennon, tweeting, "A sad, sad day, but remembering my friend John with the great joy he brought to the world." Ringo Starr wrote, "I'm asking every radio station to play Strawberry Fields Forever sometime today." I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Others say it. We prove it.
We are controlling transmission.
WLTK DB. Let's talk.
Alternative Talk Radio.
WLTKDB.com.
Well, they say that you're a fool. You believe in magic.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal Pete Show, where it's about 6 after this first hour here, and on the West Coast. I don't know if where you're at, but the ground here is squishy. So Seth was talking about earlier going out and planting your feet in the dirt. Well, you get pretty muddy up here right now. So, but welcome back.
Truth.
Yeah, welcome back to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Peter Orbea, with special guest Seth Michael. And before we went to the top of the hour break, you were telling the story of the Prune Hill house.
Yeah.
And you had kind of touched on remote viewing there. And, you know, so I want to talk about that a little bit more. For those who maybe have not heard of that or not sure what that is, what is remote viewing?
It's where you can see things in your mind's eye, not having to be there. So let's say you're in the store and you want to check on your car to see if you got a ticket or something. You can access your clairvoyancy and see if you get an image of your car to see if there's a ticket on it or if there's anything going on that you might want to go back outside and check, for example.
That would be
So,
me
yeah,
with the
you can-
parking tickets.
Oh yeah, see if you got them.
They're out to get me.
Oh boy. It's good to practice too, like to see before you go outside, do I have one? And kind of see if you do. It's a good practice to have. Well, hopefully you wouldn't have any, but
Right. Yeah.
So with astral traveling, you're going all the way out of your body.
Okay.
Where most people wouldn't be able to wake up right away. And
Sure.
I've did out of body before one time. That's all I needed to do. I wasn't comfortable with it. And when I came back, the whole half of my body, I went through this hole with this light, and the half of my body that went through the hole, because I heard go back. So I went back to my body, and my whole part was paralyzed. It was just a few seconds, but it was weird.
Really?
And then
Like
I asked
a
somebody-
whole half of your body was...
the half that went through that oval hole was all paralyzed for just
Wow.
a few seconds, but it was weird. It was really strange.
Well, so
But I
that
had
makes...
gone all the way out.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you this then. So that kind of makes me think of, you know, one of the most common things, you know, you hear when someone's sharing their paranormal experience with you is, you know, waking up in bed and not being able to move. I wonder if possibly, you know, like a sleep paralysis sort of situation. I wonder if maybe that could be factoring into it, that maybe the person's just unconsciously astral projecting, and you know they have this experience and they wake up and they're freaked out and they can't really move because they're not all the way back yet. I mean, do you think
Yeah.
that's a possibility?
That totally is. Yeah, I didn't actually think of that.
Yeah, I just, when you were talking about it, it made me think that, well, shoot, a lot of people talk about sleep paralysis, or, you know,
Yeah.
they talk
I know
about
they have
yeah, and
medical
you know,
explanations for that, but
right.
When that happened to me, that was in this one place where there was something in the closet, and it was really interesting how it had happened. It kept happening, and just in that room, no other ever time.
Really?
So yeah, so I just think I think there is something to it.
Yeah,
Maybe not
yeah.
all the time, but I think there's elements
Sure.
of
Well,
paranormal elements in that.
yeah. Well, I would think, if somebody's, a regular person, I'm not saying that we're not regular people, but, a regular person that it's not even on their radar that they're psychic or can astral project. And, it's kind of like an untrained person going out into the field, so it kind of makes me think, well, shoot, maybe that's kind of what some of the experiences people are having is maybe they're actually astral projecting. And one thing I've
Yeah, a lot of people do that at sleep. There's natural travelers where they come back so tired, they wake up like they've never slept,
yeah
and they remember some snippets, some little flashes of things, maybe places that they were, and they
yeah
were really active usually.
yeah well, I'm wondering if anybody out there listening to us right now, if you've maybe had an experience where you had what people would call sleep paralysis when you woke up, and maybe think about it a little bit more. Maybe it wasn't like a sleep paralysis, or maybe it wasn't something sitting on your chest or holding you down. Maybe just part of you is not all the way back yet. So I'm wondering how many people out there have had multiple sleep paralysis, quote unquote sleep paralysis type experiences where you wake up and you can't move. That's interesting. One thing I've
Yeah.
always thought about since I was a kid, because I thought I just had a weird science fiction imagination growing up. That's kind of what I felt my imagination was. I've always kind of thought, probably as early as 10 years old, about as far back as I can remember with this, is would be going to sleep at night, and I would think, well, I wonder if my other self is waking up. When I go to sleep, they're waking up, and then I started to think, I wonder if, when I'm, awake and I'm starting nodding off and get tired, does that mean my other part of myself is trying to wake up, but I'm not letting it? It's trying to wake up. So it's trying to make me go to sleep. So I always kind of wondered that, and maybe that's something I'll have to think about a little bit more, and talk to, people who are really fluent with dream interpretation
Yeah.
with that. But I
I
don't know.
just
That's
thought,
just,
made me think of the thought too that sometimes we think that we're haunting ourselves, possibly on different timelines.
yeah, well, anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
I put that in my show, the intro, because we don't know much and anything's possible. So
Yeah.
I think it's totally possible.
Yep.
Um,
That is true. I always it's best to not use the word expert when you're talking about this field, because
Sure.
there's so many different possibilities, like you said,
Right.
and no one does really know for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of speaks to, I've heard you say this before, and many other mediums that I trust, that, if you go to someone who says they guarantee you something, that's the wrong person to go to.
Yeah, yeah. If they tell you for sure that they're going to be able to get like a certain spirit come through, or for sure get the information that you want, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Or somebody that calls himself an expert.
yeah.
Exactly. No, that's a great point. And I've always kind of taken that to heart, when I've heard you talk about, and I've heard William Becker and other mediums talk about, it's not how it works. You
Right.
can't guarantee anything.
No,
And so,
because we're still human. We're human. We're still having
right,
this human experience in this frequency. So we've got a lot of different factors. Our own thoughts are coming in,
right.
and we have to try to field and figure it out. It's not exact science. Obviously, it's not science.
Yeah. People are trying to figure out how to make it an
It's a
exact
mystery.
science, but yeah, it's total
Yeah,
mystery. And
which would be awesome. Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, they've definitely made leaps in different studies, but not to prove it yet.
Yeah, not proof. There's evidence, but no
Evidence,
proof
yeah.
yet. There's evidence, but no proof yet. And that's something I always try. That's something I always try and remember: is evidence isn't proof. It's just more evidence. So if it leads you, if it leads you to more questions, you're on the right path.
Yep.
Right? Well, maybe, and someday we'll all know at some point, at some day, we'll all figure it out.
And then when
but I
you're lucky enough to get certain evidence, that's what makes people believers. If I didn't have certain things happen, I wouldn't, like, I didn't understand. Maria told me I was a medium, but I needed to see it for myself. So only after years and years of practice did I figure out, oh, okay, there's no way. There was a way I could have guessed at these things, but not at, like, all of these things,
Right.
and the kind of things.
Yeah.
So that to me told me it wasn't proof, but it was evidence to me that there was something going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and even in my own story and my own experience with you, so you're still the only person I've got. Well, no, I've had a psychic reading by another person, but you were the first one, and it changed me, but it was in a good way. But
So awesome.
it was definitely one of those. I totally get where you're coming from. You got to see it for yourself. You got to experience it for yourself, because when I sat down for my reading with you, and the first thing you said is, "Well, you're going to do your own reading." And I was kind of like, "Wait, what?"
Probably thought I was nuts. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, like I didn't realize this how it works. And so, you had written some things down, and then you kind of had me do my own reading, and then you showed me everything you had written down beforehand, and it was like exactly what I saw, and almost in the exact order that I saw things. And I couldn't believe it at first. It was just kind of like, whoa, what, I'm tripped out. What's going on here? And then you had the little breaking through sculpture, and that made me even more like, what? I mean, he made this like a week before even knowing about me at all. And it was like my guide that I saw. What the heck? And then I came home.
Choctaw and
Yep,
native.
Choctaw. Yep. And so, I come home and I'm like, oh my God, to my wife, like, what is going on? And she's like looking at me like, okay. But it was like I had to experience it for myself, because then my wife, she's my biggest critic and biggest supporter, right? And so she wanted to test me. She's like, okay, you're you think you're picking up on stuff, and this is going on. Well, give me details. Read me. Give me something. And which is I later kind of realized, well, that's a pretty big challenge when it's hard to read somebody really well, because I was thinking, God, well, whatever I'm going to come up with, maybe she told me 10 years ago, told me about this or something.
Right, I get you.
And so I just kind of went with it, but I wanted to see for myself. And I saw a memory of at her grandparents' house, and she kept telling me, give me details, because I had been to this house a couple of times. I was familiar with it, and give me details. And so I'm looking around, in this memory, I'm kind of feel like I'm looking around, and I see that they had ice cream. It was a birthday party that I was seeing, and they don't open their ice cream carton from the top. They open it from the side, and her grandma would cut it into squares. And that was the detail that I saw. And to see her face and reaction, then I was going like, whoa, did I just do that?
Wow.
And then it just was more and more. Anytime somebody came over to her house for dinner to hang out, their great aunt or somebody would show up, you know, and I'd know their name and what they like to do, and you know, could see memories. So you almost really have to see it for yourself. So I totally agree with where you're coming from on that, because I had to kind of see it for myself too.
And then I tried to read her, but I couldn't yet. So I still want to try to give her a shot.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll give me a shot on that at some point.
Oh
But
yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't come in, and it's good to be honest too. Like if you don't get anything,
Sure.
don't guess. Just say, okay, I'm just not getting it, or if some things aren't making sense, then
Yeah.
you could just be mixing it up with imagination or something, or getting
Yeah.
your signals crossed. So then it's not the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've noticed if if you've got a sinus cold, or, your head's real stuffy, that can really kind of mess things up. But
Yeah, there was a famous one we went to see a gallery reading with. It was Chip Coffee, and he said he was on cold medicine, and didn't not a lot came through that made sense. Then
yeah.
with the spirits, we were all mediums, and we're sitting there, and the spirits are looking at us like, "What the hell is he talking about?" So, and I'm not downing him at all. I'm just saying
Oh
that the
yeah,
time
sure.
we were there, it didn't seem
Yeah.
like he was on his game. So
Yeah, and
I know how that goes.
yeah, yeah, I tried to do a group reading once, and I just had a horrible headache the whole day, and was just nose running and stuffy. It was a couple years ago, and I just finally I was trying and trying, and after a while I was just like, look, it's just not going to happen. I'm just not feeling it. So, and it's tough to admit that, but sometimes you have to. And well, I
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
important to be honest.
yeah, well, I kind of wanted to ask you about, because I know in the past, and you mentioned it earlier, you've done a number of gallery readings, um, at the Vision 8 studio. And
Yeah, it started at the Twilight Theater
yeah.
Company in Portland, Oregon, because I was at a group reading. It took me the longest time to do group readings. I started with the private ones, and then my guides are like, "How about group? Let's do group. Hey, how about group?" And I finally said, "Okay." So I tried it, and there was this one, and a zebra came through, and it turned out to be that the lady's grandfather tried to train the neighbor's zebra. So that
Whoa.
all this this information was coming through, is like right on. And she was trying to get a theater with her husband, and I don't know if they said theater at the time, but I remember I got something to the effect of, don't talk to this one lady, talk to the guy, or something like that, and something about a library or something. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
they ended up being in the library for a while, and they did my advice, and then they ended up getting a theater by following that. So that was
Wow.
really cool. So then they invited me to do a gallery reading,
Wow.
and it's all started with that. And then I did it by myself. The first one, I think we had like 60 people, and then I did a few by myself, and I was cashed at the end. Like I was started at doing 3 hours, and for me that was just,
That's
it
a
was
long
too
time.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that many people, and then especially when I was first starting the group or the
Hmm.
galleries, or sometimes they're called platform readings. Some people might know them as that.
Sure.
And so I then asked Teresa Cleve, a really good friend, and Sharon Lewis, who goes by the name Aurora,
Hmm.
and to help me. So sometimes all three of us would go up there, but most of the time it was one of them and myself, and that made things a lot easier. I know that you work with other mediums too. You've worked
Yeah.
with McKenna Long, and I've worked with her before too.
Yes.
I love working with her too.
Yeah,
She's
she's a lot of fun to work with, and I've
yeah.
done galleries with William Becker as well, and it's kind of nice when you can kind of approach things from both perspectives, or one person is feeling something on this side of the room, and then I'm feeling something on this side of the room, and then you can almost kind of divide and cover more ground that way.
It's good for the
So
spirits too. They have more, different options to choose from, like who can probably help me get this message through the most.
Yeah.
And then they can go to one of us.
Yeah, exactly. So, when you're doing a gallery reading, for those who haven't attended one, what's it? Take us inside your head.
Okay.
What's kind of going on in a gallery reading when you're sitting in front of a group of people? What's going through your head? Is it, can you describe it?
Well, at first, before I go out, I try to really center and focus, and the spirits start coming right away. And I start writing everything down: names, what descriptions, what do they look like, what are they, who are they here for? Are they here for a granddaughter or a son, or what can you tell me? Where are they sitting? So I'm asking them all this, and then I go out, and then we start taking turns, and then I'll just start reading off everything that I wrote down, and then we'll go from there, and then other spirits will come up, and I usually have a spirit chair. I'll have one chair where a spirit can image sitting in, so that kind of helps me focus. Then I'll focus on the chair, and the spirit knows when it's my turn, I get to go by this chair or in this chair, image themselves there. So for me that made it a little easier, but at the end of the night, my mind's all over the place, and then I can kind of get scattered. I might go quicker, like from here to here to here, but at first it's more focused on a certain spirit, but then they piggyback to where they'll come through, and one set of information will make sense, but then more information will come, and then it'll start veering off to another person.
Yeah.
So it could be those, to the both spirits coming through, trying to get through as quick as they can.
Yeah. Quick.
And then I get animals that come through.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got a horse, a squirrel. I think the funniest ones for me have been birds. They're
really
hilarious. Yeah, this one came through going, damn bird, and that's all he kept saying. And then the lady said that it was Dan Bird, Dan Bird, but they kept calling him Damn Bird. So that's what he was saying. And there was a couple. There was one bird that flew in. So I'm doing the reading. I'm seeing this bird fly in on Thanksgiving dinner and fly right into the gravy. I'm like, did this area, anything happen like that? And two people raised their hand. And how many people have their bird jump into the gravy? That's kind of weird. They didn't even know each other.
Oh, geez. It's like a National Lampoon's Christmas, Christmas vacation moment there. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, I've always had a good time with gallery readings, and I don't know if it's just me, but it always feels like they're pretty positive and not a lot of, stuff that would make people feel down come through. It's more, more of a positive thing. And one gallery I did, and McKenna was Long was there for that, but I can't remember how many people were there, but I was kind of going through and getting stuff for different people, and there was this one lady. It cracks me up to think about it still today. This one lady, and I was describing a man and where he was from, how old he was when he passed, things that he did in his life, and he was in the Philippines. He fought in World War II in the Philippines. I could see, Japanese flags on the sides of buildings, and he was describing the building. Oh yeah, everything. And she was like, oh, that's my my grandfather, and and I said his name's Felicino, and I spelled it. I said, this is how I see it, and I spelled it. And then she threw her arms up, and, oh, you're all wrong. It's Filicino, not Felicino. And we all just laughed because it was like,
oh my gosh,
I didn't pronounce it right, so it's all wrong.
Oh my gosh, that sort of happened to me too. This spirit was signing, like almost taking my hand and signing her name as a C something, but her name began with a T. and they said that's how she used to sign her name. Then when I showed it to them, they said no, that doesn't look right. I didn't do it exactly right, but to sign your name with a C when your name begins with a T is kind of weird. So like it was interesting, and
Yeah.
I thought it was a good hit, but they're like, no, it doesn't look that way. But I'm like, but I didn't mean to show you like it'll be exactly like that, but
Yeah, you're
don't
just
know.
giving an example. Sure.
Yeah.
I just always crack up at that. You know, she was, yes, that's right. Yep, yep, oh, that's, yep, yep, yep. And oh, no, you didn't say it right. No, you're
Oh
all
my
wrong.
gosh.
With the whole group,
Yeah.
we all laughed. It was pretty good. I'll never forget that one. That's pretty good. Well, hey, I want to talk about your team a little bit. And we got about 30 minutes left. So we're going to go
Yeah, I
speed
don't want to leave them
ranks.
hanging on the big bad spirits that were at Prune Hill House too.
Yeah.
I want to finish up with that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just the short version. There were things happening for the first time I could say that was happening outside of my head, paranormal activity.
Okay.
Like the radio would play when it wasn't plugged in, but you could hear a radio announcer come through.
Okay.
And then there was hearing marbles drop and roll constantly.
Oh man, yeah.
Drop, and the dogs were downstairs. There was nobody upstairs. I'm getting chills thinking about it. It was just weird. Then and we would go upstairs, and it was this feeling like it would take this fear at the bottom of your feet and like pull it out, and you would feel all this fear, even though you weren't afraid. So it was something. It was not human. I don't think it was. There were no human emotions. It was despair. It was things like that. But it wasn't like sorrow or any sort of love in there at all.
Or regret. Yeah.
No, nothing like that. Yeah. So I think it was I think these were negative entities. These really really negative ones.
Not
and it felt like there
non-human.
were three of them, non-human. Yeah. And they said when we first talked to them, it came through as a kid and said they were 13 and third grade, missing kid. I wasn't familiar with the area code, and they gave a phone number. So I said, if you're a missing kid, what's your phone number? And they gave it to me. It was a 503 number. Jill goes, oh, that is local. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. And we called it to see what was up. And then they said they had just got that number. That was a brand new number for them.
Whoa.
So yeah. But then and then Jill said, well, you can come out of the room because it would only stay in that room. And well, after it came out of the room, then hell broke loose all over the house, all over the upstairs. Wow. Anyway. Yeah, but when we went to the store though, and I came over me like it clicked. It's like, oh shit, that wasn't a kid. That was not a kid. And then
they were lying.
Yeah, and then I'd go to that door, and I'd have to go into that room when it was in the room at first, and I would feel a hand on my spirit, one of my guides, a hand on my shoulder going, it's time to learn. So I kept playing. I saw this video on YouTube on how to rid. I don't really use the word term demons because there's so much more out there. So I don't want to just limit it to that. Sure. But I found a thing that said rid of demons, and there was this guy talking, and so I just played it in the room, and it started to actually help a little bit. And then our friends came, or Jill's cousin came over, and his wife, and then we all prayed, and then it finally felt better. Yeah. It took a while though. And then Jill said, oh, you know what? We should help others and make a team and do this for other people. And at first I was like, hell no, because that was a lot. But it's worse when your own house.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Rather than going into a location. And
sure.
And it's a lot. You're a lot more vulnerable if it's your own. So yeah, if you got hardcore, I would say to get help is a good thing.
Yeah. And, and you guys eventually did start a team.
Yeah, then my guide said, well, what are you thinking about that team after all? I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
let's do it. And I'm glad we did. We've been doing it for 9 years.
Yeah, it's White Light Paranormal Insights. Yep. And tell us a little bit about the team. What's kind of the what's what's kind of your guys' thing? What makes your team different than most teams that are out there?
We've got several members. Some members do the investigations. They'll come in with the equipment, and if activity happens at 3 in the afternoon, usually they'll come at 3 in the afternoon. They'll just it doesn't have to be at night. It'll just come. They just make a time when the activity is usually happening. So they'll go and they'll spend some time being quiet and listening and really trying to experience what the client might be experiencing, and hopefully catch something on evidence, some sort of evidence to show the client that, hey, you're not crazy, this is what's going on. And that's usually where the shows end, is say, yeah, we think you have something, here's some EVPs, and here's some other things going on, but good luck with that.
Yeah.
So second half of the team, we try to resolve the issue. So we call it a spiritual resolve, where we don't guarantee that we're going to be able to rid of anything, but we're going to try our best to connect with the spirits, see what's going on with them. Can there be ground rules? How about don't come up behind me in the dark? When the door is closed in my bedroom, don't come into my bedroom. If the spirit chooses to stay and the client's okay with that. Otherwise, if it's negative entity, we work on trying to get that out, if possible, and also teach the client some tools and how they can keep and maintain their house. And sometimes if we're not able to get something out right away, we'll come back and we'll still keep working with the client until we get some sort of a, hopefully, a resolve. Or we'll, there might be somebody else in the team or in the field that we know of that specializes in a certain kind of entity that we feel this might be happening, or then so we'll call in somebody else. So our slogan is empowering people and guiding spirits.
That's awesome. And now everybody on the team is psychic or medium or psychic medium or empath, right?
The resolve team usually has the more people that we call ourselves mediums, but yeah, they're definitely, everybody on the team has abilities. They either have a strong empath going on, a strong set with that, or a strong intuition. I know, like, Kristen is very high in intuition as well as Jill. For example, then so if Jill's going on a resolve with me, she'll go, oh, I'm getting this, and it'll be really, I can't think of an example, but like even the last one we went on, something was right on. So they help us as well.
That's awesome. And so do you guys find that clients, report back to you and that things are better, or they're cohabitating better?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we have a pretty good success rate with that. And then we always do keep in contact with everybody.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's not just like you're saying, in the shows where, all right, well, here's the evidence. You got a ghost. See you later.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we really try to, even if we can't get whatever it is out, we're there trying to support, and because we know what it's like.
Yeah. And kind of help maintain, and that's awesome. So is there a place
tools, teach them tools.
Yeah, exactly. Is there a place that you guys have investigated a lot, and I'm kind of I know the answer.
Yeah.
But for those who don't,
and it was a love-hate relationship I had at beginning with this place. It's called Kenton Station. It's in Portland, Oregon, and St. John's. So North Portland, and it was a Swift Meat Packing Company, I think. I've heard the spiel a million times. You think I'd memorize it, but it was also a speakeasy, and we've had a lot of experiences in there. Our team used to we will again, a free haunted basement tour.
Yeah. When is that?
Every third Thursday.
Typically, every third Thursday in normal
at
times.
7:30. Yeah, normal time, 7:30.
In normal times. And I mean, how long is the tour of the place?
About an hour and a half.
Oh,
We
that's
go in the
cool.
basement. It's a dirt floor. It's really gritty.
Yeah.
It's really cool. You really get the ambiance. It was an old Fight Club. We've got they put a rope up to kind of get that feeling, and uh, I used to feel punched in the stomach like a lot in the certain areas. So I do
Oh,
really think it
geez.
was a Fight Club.
No, you
And
were
then
maybe,
other people.
yeah, like you were standing in the way of someone's punch, and they
Yeah.
got you instead.
Yep.
So is
We've
in this place in the
Mhm.
Kenton Station, would there be? I mean, do you think? And I guess this could go for any location that you've been to a number of times. Do you think that there's entities at the Kenton Station or other places that you frequent that know you? Like when you get there, I mean, you have a rapport. Do you feel like they know you? They recognize you?
Yes, definitely. Because especially at Kenton Station, when we first started there, we did help a spirit, we believe, cross over. And
Okay.
we believe she was a prostitute, and that the mob guys kind of felt like they had a right keeping them there. And we let them know. And there was a couple of times, two different, well, more than that, a couple different situations. I mean, a few. Could be even like or 10 that we've come across like they didn't feel they could leave, but we let
Okay.
them know. So just through the years, they would come up to us. And so I think the spirits got to know me from that, and they weren't real happy, and the team at the time wasn't real happy with that either.
Okay.
Kristen she was helping with the tours at the time, and then on that team, we had come there, and she had her own experience about a spirit that was getting in her force field, and she was almost like she was actually pushing it out, and was having an emotional time with the spirit. And then we let her know we feel like that spirit had it was a miscarriage, I think.
Oh,
I don't think
geez.
it was a forced abortion, it was. Oh no, it was abortion. It was abortion, and I'm pretty sure it was such a long time ago now, and
Sure.
she was afraid she was going to go to hell, and so we talked her down from that, and we believe she crossed. And then Kristen was so excited and happy that, hey, this these mediums came and they saw what I felt, and everything, and this happened, and they're like, they didn't have permission to do that. And then the other person said, how did you feel if someone went into your house and let your pets out? they
Oh,
wrote him
geez.
they wrote her email saying that, and she's like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go with these guys. So eventually she came to our team. So because she had similar thoughts with that, like it
Yeah.
made sense to her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we've had a lot, and then that team actually was trying to get people to remote and astral over to attack me whenever I went to Kenton, because I was quote unquote clearing out all the spirits. There's no way in the heck I could clear out all the spirits, or would I try? It was a miscommunication. It was just
Sure.
craziness. It was
Yeah.
nuts. And then he was banned. They were banned from doing the tour, and then our team got it. So Kristen does the talking parts of it, and we
Yeah.
just we just help, or help with anything mediumship, that if anyone has questions, or
Yeah.
get messages. So
That's awesome. And I like the rapport building. I feel kind of that way with here in Port Gamble, at the Walker Ames house, and have tried over the years to develop a rapport that, where they recognize me, although I mentioned many times, I'm sorry, you have to hear me talk again. Saying the same things. I'll try and mix it
oh,
up for
yep,
you,
I
but
hear you.
it
Yeah.
is, I think it is kind of nice when you can build that
Yeah,
rapport.
now I feel more comfortable. Like way in the beginning, the spirits were kind of against me because of what that guy was telling them, and what his experience was like. He was kind of getting them to say, well, they were saying kill Seth. Of course they
Oh,
were mad at
geez.
me over the EVP, the spirit box. Of course they would be mad at me because there was an instance of one jumping in me because he was mad that we crossed over another one. And this was pretty wild. The five mob spirit guys crowded in around Aurora, Kristen, and I. And Kristen had the EMFer. She had the K2 meter.
Okay.
And and I said, one's in me, and it went all the way to green on my stomach, and it shouldn't do that on people. Heat was rippling out of my stomach, and cold was coming out of my back. And then Aurora put her back to mine. And in the meantime, I was telling the spirit in my head, like, you're not going to move for me. You're not going to talk for me. You got to get the hell out of me. And Aurora said, emit love. I thought of my mom. He thought of his and fell right out. So love was the key, man. Love just made it all go away.
And
power went pooh.
And isn't that something that it's hard to remember, but that's something that carries over in all walks of life.
Yep. And while that was happening on the other side, that we couldn't hear them, but they were doing the spirit box, and Jill was over there, and she hears Warren Seth. Well, she thought it was nothing, but at the same time, I'm getting possessed.
Oh, jeez.
So a warning would have been nice, but
yeah. Oh well.
That would have been cool to have split screens, like showing all of that.
Yeah. Oh,
that was wild. We've had some wild experiences down there.
That's
awesome. I do like it. And I do miss it. We
Yeah.
have been able to get down there to do an investigation with just a couple of team members and masks and everything. And
Yeah.
Because nobody's there anymore, but
Yeah.
it was dead and not in a good way. It was like nobody was coming through really.
Yeah.
So
well, maybe they're like, well, nobody's been down here for a while, so we're gonna go over somewhere
they took
else.
off. Yep.
Yeah. No, exactly. I've noticed in Port Gamble with all the tours and stuff that when in normal times that the Walker Ames house is a little more quiet when there's a theater production going on in the Old Town Theater. And I always joke and say, well, I think they're all over at the theater watching the play.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I've just kind of noticed that over the years. Well, we've got about 14 minutes, and I really want to talk about your film.
Okay.
And of course, I'd like to have you back on again because I feel like we could talk so much more.
That sounds awesome.
So this film's got All Around Us, and you can find it at allaroundusfilm.com.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about it, because I think it's unique in the sense that, I mean, you got to really kind of tell the story through your lens, not somebody else's lens. What it's like to be a medium. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, we go over different topics. We go over what it's like being a kid, what we talked about tonight with earthbound spirits crossing over.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about mental health issues and stress sometimes, being a medium, the negative parts, the positive parts. And then there's some clients on there that talk about their experiences with having readings, and friends. Definitely, I've got like Teresa Cleve and Karen Anderson and Karen Frazier, and I know I'm going to miss people, Aurora, and there's just a slew of cameos with friends in there,
Sure.
telling their experiences, and I think it was a really cool experience. It was through a gallery reading where Tristan Luciati he approached me and said, I'd really like to do a documentary on you. So kind of went from there. I said, can my friends be in it? He said, sure.
But you basically kind of got to tell it through a medium's perspective, and kind of what you've gone through, and I, of course, own a copy of it.
You were in it.
Yeah.
You're in it.
And so I've got my copy of it. But some of the self-documenting that you were doing, with your own camera, and stuff, you were getting pretty emotional, and, just talk a little bit about what it was like to self-document as you're kind of going through different situations and experiencing different things. I mean, that must have been pretty hard to do. How was it for you?
It was pretty interesting. The one thing that happened that I thought was pretty wild is um, I have a father on the other side that I'm adopted by my dad. I have my biological mom, but adopted dad is because my biological left when I was 3, and I believe he came back in spirit form, and he kept trying to talk to me while I was doing that.
Oh,
and,
jeez.
and I'm like, I said something to the effect of don't you see the sign on the door, no assholes allowed? Like, I was just getting really upset with him, because he kept and it wasn't a comfortable thing. Like, I wasn't ready to talk to him. Like my adopted dad too, it took me a while to warm up to be able to resolve issues as they can on that side. They can progress and they can talk about things, but we have to be ready too. And I wasn't ready for either one at the time. I made amends now and things are better, or they made amends, pretty much. But yeah, there were just some interesting things. I can't remember everything, but we did have interesting experiences happen.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if anything weird happened during filming, like
A lot of batteries got drained.
Oh yeah,
almost all the time. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that was all of you guys. I imagine
could
getting a
be.
group of empaths and mediums together. It's like, wow, energy off the scales.
Yeah.
So, well, I have to ask, just because I was, you make me want to laugh and have fun. What was the funniest blooper moment during the whole filming process? Was there anything that just had you guys laughing?
Man, oh. I can't think of anything offhand. I know there was some.
Okay.
That it's a really good question. I just wasn't prepared
to
remember. Like,
Sure.
I'll have to ask Tristan. He can remind me.
Okay.
And then I can come back to you on that one.
That's awesome. Or you'll think of it again, at 2:00 in the morning tonight.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I wish I had the
it.
answer to that, because there was just for some reason my mind escapes me sometimes.
Well, I think it's a neat film. It really kind of shows. I think a lot of people don't realize what mediums go through. Because maybe if it's a client, they're only really talking to you when you're doing something. You're helping them out or something. And so
I got a blooper for you from a case.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Bloopers galore.
Oh, yeah, give us a good one. Give us a good blooper.
All right, here's a good one. This guy finally crossed, and man, he took a long time. That was his house. He built that house. He was not going anywhere. He had I think it was Jack Daniel bottles buried all over, porn magazines all over the place. He was sticking there. He did not want to leave, and finally got him to go. And then my experience was there was a negative entity attached to him, like a backpack. And then when he went, this negative entity fell off. It just peeled off of him. So that was still in the house. So we had to work on that. And then I was in the bathroom and I saw it there, and I said, investigators, you gotta get in here now. Gotta go check that out, or whatever. You tell them, get in there. And then they run in there, and they heard a tap on the window. They don't know what that was about, but they don't know for sure if that was evidence. And they said, "Oh, okay, we're done." Like, what was going on? It's like, that was a creature of the Black Lagoon in there, and like, you sent us in there. And then there was a thing about the axe man. There was a guy with the axe, and I was sending him back there, but he was a handyman.
a good axe man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, but Tracy on the team said, "You're gonna send us back by a guy with an axe."
At least tell us first. Yeah,
but they were investigators. I thought they wanted to know, but they're like, you sent us in there and that.
Yeah, I do that to people on my tours. I have them use where we take a restroom break and then have everybody go take the break when they come out. Now we're talking about the haunted stories about these bathrooms.
Oh
And I was like,
yeah.
what? You sent us in there?
Oh, that's funny.
Well, I said if
Yep,
I told you the
it's-
stories beforehand, you wouldn't go in there.
Yeah, that's true. If I said Creature of Black Lagoon, they wouldn't have gone.
Well,
They
so
would have been like, "You go." there was something going on in a bathroom
good,
one time
I'm
too,
good.
and I'm going in there, and all of a sudden this black cat jumped out at me, and then we made sure that no pets were allowed in
Oh, man.
investigations.
Yeah.
That was
You know
pretty
what?
freaky too, but
It's
they
usually
cracked
the
up.
living.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it usually the living? The living are scarier than the dead.
Yeah.
When you're in this field of work, I
Got
think
more
it's
to
the
worry
living
about with them.
people that.
That scared me.
Yeah, and they
more
that.
than the-
Yeah, and yeah, they scare you more than anything. It's,
Yep.
it's just other people on the investigation.
Yeah.
Especially if they're jokers too. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
always the living that's scarier. But so yeah, I mean, I just want to go back to your film a little bit. So that's allaroundusfilm.com. And for anybody interested in mediumship and just to kind of see what it's like to live the life of a medium, this is a great film.
It's
And
$10 right now for streaming, or if you wanted
nice.
the DVD, it's I think it's 25 or 20.
Okay.
I think it's 20 right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, support support all of us out there and get the film for the holidays too, if that coming up. And
Yeah, great gift
it's
idea.
yeah, it's just it's a neat side of the story that it really isn't told in a lot of documentaries out there. And so yeah, I with the work that I do, and I kind of thank you for helping me out. And as we were talking about animals and the birds and stuff, I remember that during my reading, you had asked me if there was, if I had a connection with animals. And my mom was a vet tech, and so I spent a lot of time in animal hospitals growing up and taking care of sick animals, and I always kind of felt a connection. But while you were asking me that, a stinking crow flew up right on the outside of the window, like looking. I mean, it was like right on the other side of the glass of my face, and like looking at me. And you're like, "Oh, do you have a connection with animals?" And I was like, I guess."
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, pretty wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you? You mentioned that the tours, they'll probably start back up.
Yeah.
Once we kind of get into a place where we can have tours. And
Yeah, looking forward to
unfortunately,
that.
yeah, me too. I've had to cancel my tours as well, and for the meantime. But um, I want to thank you again for coming on. Again, we're with Seth Michael, spiritual advisor, psychic medium, SethMichaeladvisor.com if you want to get a hold of him. It's just fun to have you on. I'm so glad that you could take the time, and I definitely want to have you on again because I think there's a lot we didn't get to. Now I've got a couple of minutes left, and real quick, there's a book that you had lent me, your personal copy, which I was so grateful for. And now I have my own copy, but it's a book called Your Psychic by Dr. Pete A. Sanders.
And he's in the movie too.
He is in the film, yes. Yep. And so that book, I've suggested it to many other people, but I want to, thank you for turning me onto that book. It's a great resource if you're kind of trying to discover your psychic abilities, or it really lays it out in a way that you can understand it.
Yeah.
And
that helped me the most.
It really helped me too. So if you're out there and you're kind of in this limbo of what's going on, am I having a psychic awakening, or what do I do with my gifts, definitely check out that book, because it's a good resource for just understanding possibly what's going on with you and identifying things. So I just want to make sure to throw that in
You don't
there
even have
too.
to read it cover to cover. Just pick out what
Yeah. Exactly. And so I just wanted to put that out there, but we're getting real close here to wrapping up. And so I want to again thank Seth Michael so much for coming on, and I really appreciate it. Now, next week, we've got Neil McNeil coming on, who's a parapsychologist, investigator, and a researcher. And so he's going to be coming on next week as my guest. And Neil, I would say, is, some people have dubbed him the godfather of paranormal research in Port Gamble. So we're going to talk about that. He's an amazing guy. So definitely tune in next week and stay tuned to the station, because there's a lot of great shows on the station and Let's Talk Radio. And, it's WLTKDB.com. So definitely check out the other shows on the station. The archive of this episode will be up tomorrow, and along with Haunted Voices and Schooled Through a Spirit, all the shows today. So there's a lot of great shows coming up. I'll be on next Tuesday with Neil McNeil. Really looking forward to that. Leave you all with this. The past is history, the future is a mystery, but today's a gift because it's the present. Don't forget to be in the present. Hug the ones you love. Air hug everyone else that you can. And that's it for now. It's the Paranormal Pete Show with your host, Pete Orbea, special guest Seth Michael. And I'll see you next week. Have a good weekend, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
It'll be a minute before Facebook Live goes off.
Okay.